Ahead of his time.
He was hanging onto that wire when he transmitted.
All right. Well,
Mohawk.
welcome to Beginners Academy. We have a talk today about, or an introduction to the American Radio Relay League, ARRL. And the ARRL is optional for hams, but we'll share some about it tonight, and then you can decide if you'd like to be a member, or maybe you're already a member. It all started with this guy, Hiram Percy Maxim, and he was a pretty industrious guy, so to speak. He was a prominent businessman, engineer, and inventor. And one invention was the Maxim silencer. Does anybody know what that is? Well, it's a silencer for a gun. So you can thank Hiram for that. Of course, he was an active amateur radio operator. He got interested in the idea of relaying messages, and so that really factored into the name of American Radio Relay League. So I believe there are whole books written about Hiram Percy Maxim, so if you like history, you might want to check that out. The ARRL mission statement is to advance the art, science, and enjoyment of amateur radio. So that sounds good. Their vision statement is to support awareness and growth of amateur radio worldwide, advocate for meaningful access to radio spectrum, strive for every member to get involved, get active, and get on the air. Encourage radio experimentation, and through its members, advance radio technology and education. And organize and train volunteers to serve their communities by providing public service and emergency communications. And really, they're definitely involved with all those things. So the ARRL is organized into divisions, and I believe we're in the Southeast division, and actually, yeah, Southeastern. And the divisions are subdivided into sections. And we're in the Northern Florida section of the Southeastern Division. And each division has a director that's elected and also a vice director. That makes up the board of directors. And then they have a CEO and so forth, and other officers. A section has a section manager that I believe is elected for a 2-year term. And the section manager organizes a team to help them do the business stuff. So you might not run into a section manager too often, but they do come around to the clubs and the Hamfest, and our section manager of the Northern Florida section has a website you may want to visit. And our section manager is Kevin Best, and if you're in ARRS, you may get involved with the section emergency coordinator. And I think during Hurricane Michael that the current emergency coordinator was on board the whole time. Of course, I'm not personally involved with ARRL, but from the reports I read. And then there's a cast of others there that supports the section manager. So if there's something that we can't answer, you can go up to the staff of the section manager. And I noticed that Bob Lesko, our club president, is an official observer coordinator. So he actually has duties under the section manager. I did mention ARRL, and like I said, I'm not personally involved, but basically the overall organization of ARRL, I believe, starts with the ARRL and and works its way down. So that is very important. And they actually had equipment. They gathered people to go down to Puerto Rico and supplied them with equipment during I think it was Maria in Puerto Rico. But having a national organization is very helpful to be represented internationally. There is a body, IRAU, of amateur radio entities for all the countries. Well, anyway, there's also a international radio union that could affect us with regulations and different things. And of course, the FCC, Federal Communications Commission, can affect amateur radio in a big way. And Congress or whatever can come up with new laws and regulations. Some of them might be good. So we really need an advocate. And that's one of the roles that ARRL plays. They also support educational activities. And I think they've really stepped that up. But frankly, you'd have to dig around on the website to find their resources, but they are there. And I believe, of course, they have classes for ARRL. They also have classes on other subjects, webinars and so forth to sign up for. You can become a volunteer examiner. ARRL supports that. But there are a number of VEC organizations, and locally in Panama City, we use a W5YI, but in Dothan, they use ARRL. So that's one of the functions they support.
What's the difference between between the two? I'm just curious.
Between what two?
ARRL, the two differences between what Panama City uses and the one in Dothan.
Oh, well, I don't think it's anything substantial, but they may have different
Is it a protocol
criteria
thing?
for people who test and require different things of them. I think it's
Oh,
minor differences, really.
all right. So it's like a protocol thing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just curious. Thank you.
Sure. Well, the ARRL has members and kind of technical resources for things like interference problems and whatever. They have some resources, some experts that they can refer you to. They have a lot of articles and a search capability for that. They do product reviews and they have a test lab. And so they're involved from a technical and a usability standpoint. And we're going to mention QST in a few moments, which is where you'd find those things. And here it is. This is how most of us discovered the ARRL is QST, which basically means a message to all radio amateurs. And so QST has been around ever since, you know, the 1914 or 1920 era. And it is one of the key things that you can get is the magazine, but it's not their only magazine. But nevertheless, it does have a lot of advertisements in it with equipment, which you can drool over. Has the convention and Hamfest calendar, things coming up, and a broad range of articles. So, of course, these days, you know, QST used to be what, you know, and a couple other magazines were kind of the only resource that you could get to other than your local club. But now we have YouTube and all. I'm going to admit Frank here. All right. So if you haven't looked at a QST, we have them at the clubhouse when we get back to the clubhouse. But in the last year or two, ARRL kind of went in decided to focus on new hams. So they came up with a new magazine for new hams, and it's called On the Air. So as far as receiving a magazine in the air, I mean, in the mail, you can either get the QST or On the Air. And On the Air is more beginner to intermediate level. So that's an option for you if you join the ARRL. And so I think we all recognize that it's important to be there for new hams and help them get started with the hobby, which is kind of the same goal as Beginners Academy there. If you're very technically inclined, you might want to get QRX Magazine. It's a bi-monthly, and it's got the meaty articles. It's not a big magazine, but it's where you're going to find more detailed projects that they don't put in QST. it turns out that they changed things somewhat, and you can get QST, you can get all these magazines digitally through the ARRL now. Turns out the ARRL is really a big publishing house. They have, you know, well over 100 titles and of course, a couple that hams that have been around a while have definitely looked at and are interested in is the ARRL handbook. It grows a little bit every year. It gets rewritten, and it is kind of the go-to reference if you want to get into the details of equipment and antennas and so forth. And in fact, they also have an antenna book. Now that's just 2 publications of like probably over 100, I think. And they do their own license manuals too. So we couldn't begin to cover everything they have. And here's more license manuals. Of course, we also in our club, we've for our classes when we had them, we used Gordon West material. So you can go either way with these, but you can get. So if you like to read books, you're going to find many available to you. Some of them very technical, some of them not so much. All right, continuing along. Well, the ARRL headquarters is in Newington, Connecticut, and they've always had a station, and the station's call sign is W1AW. And in fact, it's kind of popular to visit because it's kind of a deluxe station and you can actually operate from W1AW. But while I was on the website, I noticed due to COVID, they're not taking visitors. So hopefully that'll change over the next year or two. But if you're on the air and you hear W1AW, you're listening to the headquarters station.
Is there a picture of the first station ever?
I don't have it, but yeah.
That would be really cool just to see the difference from back then to today with the computers and everything. That would have been cool.
And one thing you can do, you can actually search back and look at the QSTs from the 20s, 30s, and 40s.
Okay.
See how amateur radio's really come along.
I might go do that because that'd be kind of funny. So the ham hut of today versus the ham hut of yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a book that's 50 years of AW. Excuse me. Well, actually, they've been around for over 100 years. So
Jim's little ham hut would not even make the list right now. That's beyond. That's like next century.
I don't know. Jim rates up there with W1AW, I think.
Hey, Ashley.
Well,
yeah.
There's a good YouTube video on the original station. Check it out sometime on YouTube.
Okay, I will. Thank you. All right, thank you.
Yeah. Well, if you get on HF and you're tuning the bands, the strongest signal on the band a lot of times is W1AW, and they'll be doing code practice, and so you'll hear them at these particular frequencies. If the propagation is right, you'll definitely hear them. And you can actually use them for code practice. There's a lot of other resources for code practice, but you can actually copy them on the air. And if you don't have an HF rig yet, you could get on a web-based software-defined radio and listen into this. And I know one of our members has got a certificate of operating or copying code at a particular speed. So personally, I think this is a great thing the ARRL does. And that's one reason they have a whole lot of equipment to get on all these frequencies pretty much every day. I believe it is every day. ARRL on their website has a contest calendar, and they also sponsor a whole list of contests, and some of them aren't big serious contests, and some of them are. They're over to the right, and Field Day is in there, and there's a number of rookie contests and straight key night and sweepstakes, and you'd have to go to the website to look for the rules and the details about all these, and they cover the whole year. And so ARRL is sponsor of these. CQ Magazine is sponsor of a lot of other big contests also. They put the results of the contest in QST. And I would say, speaking of contests, but this is not a contest. It's Field Day, and it's the last full weekend of June every year. And it seems like we just had one, but another one's coming. Time to start planning. And we've given talks about Field Day, and we'll probably talk about it again before we get there. When I'm giving people advice, I tell them, if you're not married, don't get married on Field Day weekend. So just be aware of that. That's Greg's advice.
Are you talking to me, Greg?
The anniversaries will suck, right?
Yeah. Unless you're marrying a ham, and then it's all good. So
At least, hey, actually, at least you won't forget your anniversary.
yeah.
Just say it.
Yeah, right. Well, you can do what you want, but I always throw that warning out. Be sure you know what you're doing. All right. Well, a lot of things. You don't have to be a ARRL member to participate in Field Day or the contest. You also don't have to be a member to have a Logbook of the World account, also known as LOTW. And this is really huge. It kind of replaces exchanging QSL cards on paper. You still can do that, but it gets pretty expensive. So you can upload your logs and get them confirmed with the Logbook of the World software. So I think this is really huge. And also, if you're interested in awards, you can apply for them. If you're doing DXCC, working 100 countries, it's pretty tough to do that with cards. Of course, that's how people used to do it all the time. But you have an option of using Logbook of the World. So this supports hams in general. It's a big deal. So I guess I saw this slide. There's 160,000 members of ARRL. Like I say, it's optional. Some people just don't like national organizations, or they have some problem with them. But The next slide kind of summarizes things. You can become a member. The basic member is $49 a year, which isn't too bad. Just to summarize, you'll get your choice of QST or on the air. You'll also be able to get to those. You can choose not to get it in the mail, I believe. They have a big website and various services, and as you can see, there's they're a voice advocate for us and support all these things. I doubt anybody thinks they're perfect, but they do a pretty good job. Every once in a while, they might do something a little controversial that creates a lot of talk, but overall, it's a great resource for amateur radio. The website is huge. I hear they're going to revamp the website, but if you're interested, that's where you can join, is on the website. And also you can kind of peruse all the different things that they do on the website. So with that, I'll ask, are there any questions about ARRL or any other comments? Jim, do you have some comments tonight?
No, I mean, I think it's a worthwhile organization. I'd hate to think what amateur radio would look like today without them or some other replacement for them. They've done a lot for ham radio, and they've kept us from losing a lot of frequencies that otherwise would be commercial today, and we wouldn't have them.
Yep, that's right.
And
Well,
in Canada,
Go
sorry,
ahead.
Rick. In Canada, we've got RAC, Radio Amateurs of Canada, and it's basically a sister organization. It's affiliated with ARRL, and our magazine is called the Canadian Amateur, very similar to yours, and the fees are about the same, although we pay more in Canadian dollars, of course, but that's all right. And I think it's a great system. That LotW is fantastic for if you start getting into stuff like I am, meteor scatter and satellite stuff where people are after grids. It sure saves a lot of postage. It's almost a given on some modes that you're going to be a member of LotW. And to get onto LotW does require a bit of proof that you are an amateur. So it's a bit of a, I'll mail you a copy of my card. And actually in the States, it's easier, I think, isn't it, Greg? Don't you just have to, you can do it electronically or something in the States?
No, I think mail, they do send you a postcard to get started.
Okay. And that's got a special key number on it, and you put that into the program, and then away you go. It's a one-shot deal. And
yeah, it's a real high security program there. They send you a postcard with your password on it.
that your mailman can read, eh, Jim?
Anybody can read it. It's right there on the front of the postcard.
Well, Jim brought something up I have a question about. They were responsible for keeping a lot of frequencies for ham use. What are they doing? Turn them over private to like these companies that use radios to communicate, like Walmart or something? Is that what we were talking about?
Well,
big money, actually.
Yeah, right now,
bigger than Walmart.
The radio market would love to have our 440 band.
Who would?
The commercial radio.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Two-way radio, aircraft, stuff like that. Oh man, they would love that. Are you kidding? We got from 440 to 450. We've got 30 megahertz of
yeah, I know. I just
one band. That's more than all the other bands put together.
Yeah, and the cell phone and the satellite for the high frequency stuff.
Oh, I didn't realize all that.
They auction them off for, I think, millions of dollars.
Gosh, yeah.
Millions and millions of dollars.
I didn't know.
We have to fight for those every few years.
Yeah, they have auctions, and these commercial companies pay big money for them.
Wow. All right. I had no idea
Yeah.
it was that big of a deal. I thought they was just, I guess it doesn't matter what I thought, but yeah, okay. I was a little, all right, cool.
It's phenomenal.
Oh yeah. Now it's just kind of like wrap your head around that one. It's going to take me a minute.
All right. Well, well, we hope it was informative, and if you have suggestions for other topics or want to give a talk, you're always welcome to on Beginners Academy. So we'll drop the share, and we'll.
Well, I learned a lot.
Awesome. Well, you kind of hear about these, but you have to be around for years to, frankly, to pick up on it. So.